We begin with the mystery of God, not of history, but of happenings, not of timeline, but of transcendence. We begin with the movement of the living God, the holy mystery we call Spirit. Anyone who has ever resisted or mourned the destruction of the earth, or the demise of one of its living species, or has wondered at the beauty of a sunrise, the awesome power of a storm, the vastness of prairie or mountain or ocean, the greening of the earth after periods of dryness or cold, the fruitfulness of a harvest, the unique ways of wild and domesticated animals, or any of the other myriad phenomena of this planet and its skies. Anyone who has ever thought this has potentially brushed up against an experience of the creative power of the mystery of God, Creator Spirit. We seek and are found by this Spirit in the person-creating give and take of loving relationships, in each fresh particular discovery of the other's beauty, in the strength of ongoing fidelity. Whether the Spirit be pictured as the warmth and light given by the sun, the life-giving water from the spring, or the flower filled with seeds from the root, what we are actually signifying is God. God drawing near and passing by in vivifying, sustaining, renewing, and liberating power. Our dear Hildegard wrote that the Spirit is the life of all creatures, the way in which everything is penetrated with connectedness, relatedness, a burning fire who sparks and ignites, who kindles hearts, a guide in the fog, a balm for wounds, a shining serenity, an overflowing fountain that spreads to all sides. She awakens mighty hope, blowing everywhere the winds of renewal in creation. And this is the mystery of God, in whom we live and move and have our being. What then has gone wrong? In most patristic texts and in Western spheres, the Spirit is dealt with in third place, after questions of divine creation and redemption, after the relationship of the Father and Son have been explored in detail. The full range of the reality and activity of God the Spirit has virtually been lost for much of Christian theological consciousness. The Spirit has become faceless, shadowy, ghostly. Of the three divine persons, the Spirit is the most anonymous. And yet, ancient languages and symbols indicate that it is appropriate to speak of Spirit in metaphors of female resonance. Spirit, indwelling, wisdom. Ruach, Shekhinah, Sophia. So powerful is the association of Spirit with the meaning evoked by these female images that in recent years the theory has grown that one of the key reasons for the tradition's forgetfulness of the Spirit lies precisely here, in the alliance between the idea of Spirit and the roles and persons of actual women, marginalized in church and in society. Neglect of the Spirit and the marginalizing of women have a symbolic affinity and may well go hand in hand. How best to reclaim this being, this person of the Trinity? How best to understand this mystery? Perhaps what is needed is an expansion of our language, an understanding of the Spirit of God that is united with women's experiences of the holy. The whole universe comes into being and remains in being through divine creative power, Creator Spiritus. All creatures receive existence as her gift, this giver of life, this vivifier. This creative force and energizing presence knits together and upholds the world in pervading and unquenchable love. Spirit Sophia's renewing presence is always, everywhere, partial to her beloved creatures, dwelling at the center of our personal existence, creating clean hearts and spirits anew. She is especially manifest when the koinonia of believers is built up in joy and justice. Every member of the community is justified, redeemed from sin, and set right with God by her grace. No longer strangers, they are now friends of God, free to address God in deeply intimate ways. Spirit Sophia's loving in the world is gracious and inviting, never forcing or using violence, but respectfully calling to human freedom, as is befitting a gift. What the Spirit delivers is a symbol of wholeness, a pattern beneficial to all beings. So comprehensive are the operations of the Spirit, and so vast the corresponding human experiences by which the Spirit's presence is known, that one might think that speaking about God had exhausted its material once the Spirit had been considered. But this is not the case. God is God another way, not only vivifying and renewing, liberating and gracing all creation, but becoming one with its very flesh. The Spirit who pervades the universe becomes concretely present in a small bit of it. Sophia pitches her tent in the midst of the world. In a word, Jesus. Jesus is Emmanuel, God with us. The fact that Jesus of Nazareth was a male human being is not in question, not our issue. This is part of his identity, part of his historical limitation, and as such is to be respected. The difficulty arises, rather, from the way Jesus' maleness is construed in official and androcentric theology, in a way that effectively diminishes women. The way forward to a genuinely liberating Christology is to envision a new anthropology, one that overcomes the gender dualism that haunts the Christian tradition. To re-speak Christology by telling the gospel story of Jesus as the story of wisdom's child, Sophia incarnate. Human existence has a multi-dimensional character. All persons are constituted by a number of anthropological constants, essential elements that are intrinsic to their identity. Amid this multiplicity of differences, Jesus' maleness is appreciated as important for his historical identity, but not the theological determinative of his identity as the Christ, not normative for the identity of the Christian community. Jesus is Sophia incarnate, the wisdom of God, casting Jesus into an inclusive framework with regard to his relationships with human beings and with God, removing the male emphasis and remembering Sophia's characteristic goodness for life-giving creativity and a passion for justice. In his brief ministry, Jesus appears as the prophet and child of Sophia, sent to announce that God is the God of all-inclusive love, who wills the wholeness and humanity of everyone. His inclusive table community widens the circle of the friends of God to include the most disvalued people. His compassionate, liberating words and deeds are the works of Sophia, re-establishing the right over all of creation. Faith in the resurrection witnesses that Sophia's characteristic gift of life is given in a new, unimaginable way, so that the crucified victim of state injustice is not abandoned forever. Jesus Sophia's story of ministry and suffering, final victory and new community signify love and grace and shalom for everyone equally, and for the outcast, including women most of all. Divine Sophia, incarnate in Jesus, addresses all persons in her call to be friends of God, and can be truly represented by any human being called in her spirit, women as well as men. The hidden God is known in myriad ways as the power of life, truth, and hope against hope. Spirit Sophia, who pervades the world to vivify and renew, and Jesus Sophia, who joined the world in the flesh to heal and redeem and liberate. And God is God yet another way, as absolute mystery, unoriginate origin, and goal of the whole universe. The most fundamental human relationship is that of parent and child. All human beings owe their existence to a woman and man who existed before them and whose cells united to conceive them. Language about God as mother carries a unique power to express human relationship to the mystery who generates and cares for everything. The maternal relationship as a pointer to the divine has been actively and consciously erased from the repertoire of suitable images. Bringing mothering into the light enables us to remove the obstacles that block our speech and our understanding about God in the likeness of women. Speaking about God critically in these terms yields an understanding of divine reality, shaped by the wonder and greatness and hard work of a particular female experience, suggesting that where good mothering is found, there we have hints to divine relationality with this world. The relationship between mother and child connotes interdependence and mutuality of life at the deepest level, a quality of intimacy and familiarity that is genuinely person-creating. From whose womb did the ice come forth? And who has given birth to the hoarfrost of heaven? Asks Job. The answer is God the Mother, who freely gives life to all creatures without calculating a return, and by loving them inclusively. Her creative maternal love is the generating matrix of the universe, matter and spirit, and embodied spirit alike. Mother Sophia ceaselessly cares for the well-being of the world that exists only as a result of her free initiative. At the same time, Mother Sophia seeks to overcome whatever destroys her beloved creation. Yet, the compassion of God the Mother ensures that she loves the weak and dispossessed as well as the strong and beautiful. God looks upon all with a mother's love that makes the beloved beautiful, a notion that Martin Luther once himself rediscovered. Thanks to Christ, we are justified by the grace of God freely given, having nothing to do with deservingness and everything to do with the divine love meeting human need. The absolute mystery of the unoriginate origin of the universe has the character of a mother's compassion. As creative, life-giving mother of all that is, God has at heart the well-being of the whole world, its life systems, and all its inhabitants, preserving resources and endangered species, rightly reordering economic relationships, equitably redistributing goods, and banning whatever damages and defiles creation are human activities that make present wisdom's maternally interested love. The mother image points to an intrinsic relatedness between God and the world, a loving relationality that belongs to the very essence of being a mother and never ends. Speaking about God as mother does not bind us into pre-constructed patterns arising from the relationship of childhood, but brings about a mature realization of mutuality with God. All creatures, human beings and the earth, exist in relationship of mutual kinship with each other and with God, their mother, creator of heaven and earth, who delights in creation and whose passion it is to bring the whole world to the fullness of life in justice, in peace, and in universal harmony. Amen.